Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Anatiga. In this video, I'll show you how to make a front button crop top. So guys, without delay, let's get started. You want to start off by laying your pattern paper on the table and you want to rule a start line. So we'll be drafting the crop top. Start by ruling a start line. Then next, you want to rule a side line as well if your paper isn't straight on the side. Next, you want to mark 2.5 inches all the way down, and that is for your button allowance. 2.5 inches all the way down, then rule a line. Next, you want to add your chest line, and your chest line is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Whatever you have, you want to make the marking. Next, you want to add your shoulder to bust line, then your shoulder to waist line. From your waistline, you want to come down by 3 inches and add also 1 inch hem allowance. So 3 inches down, then 1 inch hem allowance. You can also come down by 4 inches and add 1 inch hem allowance, making 5. Now I'm just gonna draw all my vertical measurement, the chest line, the bust line, waistline, the top length, and the hem allowance. So that's what I'm doing here. I need to emphasize on the length again. Instead of having 4 like I have here, the hem allowance plus the extra allowance from the waist is 4. You can go ahead and mark 5 for yours. So now I've got the chest line, the bust line, the waistline, the blouse length, and the hem allowance. So that's all the vertical measurements you need, and that's the shoulder line over there. That's where all the measurements start from. And that's the button allowance. Now you want to add your neck width. I'm going for 4 inches, and for the neck depth, I'm going for 3.5 inches. I'm going to go over to the shoulder line now and add my shoulder length. So your shoulder length divided by 2, whatever you have, mark it. From that 8 inches, come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Grab your ruler and connect that shoulder slope to your neckline. Now you want to connect the shoulder slope to the chest line. Before that, I'm going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance around the armhole. So 1/2 inch seam allowance added, then you want to draw your line. Now you want to find the midpoint of that line, the armhole line, and make the marking. Then you want to come in by 3/4 of an inch. This is for your front armhole. So here I went ahead and drafted the armhole, but I shouldn't at this stage. You want to make sure you mark your bust circumference first before you draw out the armhole properly. So after this, I went ahead and added my bust circumference. So your bust circumference divided by 4, whatever you have, mark it. Also, you want to add 1/2 inch ease allowance. Once that is done, curve out your armhole. As you can see here, I've gone ahead to reconstruct the front armhole. Then I'll scribble that off. Now, whatever you have on your chest line, you want to come down to the hem allowance and add the same measurement. That's your bust circumference. You want to mark the same on your hem allowance and draw a straight line from your chest line. So it's going to be straight. That's going to be straight. Draw the line. Next, you want to extend the front neckline up to the button allowance. So that's what you would have. Now I'm going to trim off the excess paper and fold in my button allowance so I can construct the back panel. So you've got to fold the button allowance away so you can construct your back panel. For the back panel, I'm going to draft on the same paper. So for the back neckline, you want to come down by 1 inch. Come down by 1 inch and draw your back neckline in a curve. Once that was done, I moved on to the armhole for the back. So come in by 1/2 inch over there and construct your back panel armhole. From the armhole midpoint, you want to come down by 1.5 inches. Now we're drafting the pocket, the chest pocket. Come down by 1.5 inches from the midpoint of the armhole. Then come in again by 1.5 inches. 1.5 down from the midpoint, then 1.5 inches in from the front armhole, as you can see there. You come in from the front armhole, right? 1.5 inches in, then from the 1.5, you want to mark 4 inches. So the size of the pocket, the width is 4 inches. So you mark that 4 inches and you draw your line. So I've just drawn a line across first, but I've marked the 4 inches over there. So now for the length of the pocket, you want to come down by 2 1/4. 2 inches and 1/4 of an inch. 2 1/4, that is the total length of that pocket. The width of the pocket is 4 inches and the length is 2 1/4. So I'm going to connect all the dots together. Next, you want to add 1 inch seam allowance on the side. 1 inch seam allowance all the way to the chest line. You don't need that 1/2 inch round your armhole. If you haven't added it when you started drafting your panels, you need to add now. But I'm not going to add, I'm just showing you what you need to do if you haven't added it. Now I'm going to move on to the shoulder line and add 1/2 inch seam allowance. 1/2 inch along the shoulder. I don't need round the armhole because it was already added while drafting the shoulder line. So I'll leave the armhole and just go ahead and cut right now. You want to take note when cutting to cut only the back panel first and not cut into the front panel. So you cut along the back panel, armhole, and the neckline. Once we finish cutting that back panel, we're going to transfer to a fresh paper. Then we can go ahead and cut the front panel then. So here we finish cutting the back panel. So I'm going to transfer this to a fresh paper. And once it's transferred, we can start cutting the front panel. So this is the back panel. We're not going to have the button allowance. So the back panel will be unfold when cutting on the fabric. So you're going to be cutting the back panel unfold. But here we're just cutting the pattern. So cut the back panel out along the shoulder, then the neckline. So that's the back panel sorted, and that's the center back, and it's gonna be unfold like I said, and that's the center front. So I'm gonna go ahead here and cut the neckline and the armhole. I'm also gonna cut the shoulder allowance as well, that 1/2 inch allowance. I'm gonna cut it off now. The reason why I'm gonna cut the front shoulder 1/2 inch allowance is because I want the back neckline to overlap on top of the front panel. The back neckline to overlap on the neckline of the front panel. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut out here and the armhole as well. So that's the back panel, and when cutting on the fabric, that bit will be unfold, and the front you need 2 pieces for that. For the back you only need 1 unfold. So that's the front panel and the back panel sorted. Now we're gonna go ahead and cut the pocket. Very simple to cut. The pocket size is 4 inches by 2 1/4. So you want to fold your paper over like this before the construction. So you want to look properly at what I'm doing. The height is 2 1/4 and the width is 4 inches. I'm gonna add 1/2 inch seam allowance to the sides. So watch what I'm doing. So that's 1/2 inch seam allowance over there. 1/2 inch seam allowance on each side. The 4 inches width and the 2 1/4 length. I'm gonna go ahead and cut. So when you want to stitch on the fabric, the 1/2 inch will be stitched in on both sides and also at the top. You take in 1/2 inch there, then 1/2 inch there. Then it's gonna be closed off. That's gonna be closed off and stitched over. To make the pocket steady on your fabric while stitching, add an interfacing. When you place it on your fabric during stitching, just stitched across on the top there and That's gonna be the flap, and you can attach a button as well to hold the pocket down. Make sure to remember that that should be on fold. Next, we're gonna cut our back neckline facing. Back neckline facing. Make sure the paper is on fold as well, because the back panel will be on fold when cutting on a fabric. So I'm gonna be taking 2 inches for the length of the facing. So I'll mark 2 inches all the way around. That's the back panel neckline sorted. I'm gonna move on and cut it out. Then next we're gonna cut the front panel neckline. Here I don't need to place the paper on fold. So here I'll draft out the curve and take 2 inches as the neck depth of the facing. For the front facing, you need 2 of this. Here I have the front facing, the back facing, and the pocket. Next, we're going to be cutting the sleeves. You want to lay fresh paper on the table. To be honest, your paper should be on fold. I'll explain that later before you cut the sleeve. So here I marked 1 inch from the edge of the paper as my start line. I went ahead and added the bicep measurement for the sleeve. So from your shoulder to your bicep, you want to make the marking. So I'm adding 5 inches here. From that start line down is 5 inches for the bicep. And the next will be the sleeve length, because we're going to be constructing a short sleeve. You don't need much for your short sleeve. You don't need the elbow. So the start line, the bicep, then the length of the sleeve, and your allowance as well. Seam allowance. That's what is needed. So the sleeve is 10 inches there. Then I'm adding 1 inch seam allowance, as you can see there. So that's my bicep. That's the sleeve length, and that's the seam allowance. Now what you want to do next is to measure your bicep circumference and divide it by 2 and make that marking. Your bicep divided by 2, make that marking. Like I explained to you before, that bit should be on fold to cut the front and the back sleeve together, but I've got to cut one first before the other. So go ahead and connect that bicep to the start line like that and find the midpoint. Connect like that and find the midpoint. Whatever yours is, find the midpoint and mark. Make a marking. Once that is done, you want to start constructing your front armhole and your back armhole. Now you want to go up at that point by 1/2 inch. Go up by 1/2 inch and grab your ruler again and connect to that point. Go ahead again and make a curve, connecting that midpoint to that start line again. So that's the back armhole constructed. For the front armhole, you want to find the midpoint over there. Find the midpoint, whatever the midpoint is, make the marking and come down by half an inch. Come down by half an inch, like that. Then also the other half over there, find the midpoint. Find the midpoint and make the marking. Then half an inch up, go up by half an inch. Now grab your curved ruler and make the connections. You want to watch what I'm doing. I'm going to connect this bit first. And now go ahead and make this next connection as well. And that's for the front armhole. So this is for the front armhole. Now you want to measure your hem round where your sleeve is going to stop. If you have 10 inches, measure round the 10 inches length and divide by 2, then make the marking. For example, if it's 14, divide by 2, that will be 7. So where the sleeve is going to end, measure round it, divide into 2 and make the marking, then connect it to the seam allowance over there. To give the sleeve a smooth hem line, flawless hem, you're just gonna slant the sleeve a bit like that over there. Around the seam allowance, you give it a bit of a slant. But if you don't want to do that, you need to fold the seam allowance over and cut it out. Then it will give you a nice shape. So now I'm adding 1 inch seam allowance over there. Right, I'll connect that. Then I'll start cutting out the sleeve. Now you want to watch this bit. Fold the hem line of the sleeve where you have the seam allowance and cut the sleeve. This is better than making that bend or curve I made before along the seam allowance. Fold it over and cut, and that will give you a perfect shape. So we're going to go ahead and cut the back sleeve first. This is the back sleeve we're cutting. Then later on we'll draft another one and cut the front sleeve. Now after cutting the seam allowance area, this is what you should have. Can you see that bend over there? Instead of drafting it, just fold over and it will give you a flawless finish. Guys, don't make this mistake. Like, I should have had the pattern paper unfold at the start of constructing the sleeve. So now I've got to draft another one. Now I'm drafting the back sleeve. Once the back sleeve was drafted, I went ahead and cut the front sleeve. This is the front sleeve. I'm gonna change what I labeled it as. This is the front sleeve. I'm gonna change that. There's a difference between the front and the back sleeve, but they are all cut in one piece. But I cut mine in two, which I shouldn't if I folded my pattern paper. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the tape and reconstruct a fresh sleeve. I placed the tape sleeve on a fresh paper and drafted a new one. And here we have the sleeve all together, the front and the back sleeve all together in one. Now back to the front panel. We marked 2.5 inches for the button allowance. So while stitching on a real fabric, this is what you need to do. All you need to do is to fold in half an inch first, then fold 1 inch over like that. Half an inch first, then 1 inch. When you flip it over, you will still have 1 inch for your buttonhole or for your button. Can you see that? That's 1 inch. Then you're just gonna snip off that corner over there at the top, and that's it for the tutorial. I really hope this has been very helpful to you. If it has, guys, and you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing and give this video a big thumbs up. And I'll see you in the next one. I'll be posting the making of the front button flare skirt, the continuation of this video, so you don't want to miss out. See you later and take care. Bye for now.